Hello Exile and welcome back. In this video I'm going to give you a summary of the core defense manifesto that came out for Scourge League. Firstly, core defenses, which is armor, evasion and energy shield, have been substantially buffed. Armor and energy shield are now about twice as effective as they were before. So as an example of that, it used to take about 10 times more armor than you were taking damage to get 50% mitigation. It's now 5 times, so if you were trying to block half of 5,000 damage, you would require 50,000 armor, which is why it was always so bad against bosses. Now it's only going to require 25,000 armor, which is still a lot, but it will be much more effective, especially early on. And also, they have buffed Determination, as well as giving you the flat 51% more armor at level 20, it's also going to give you approximately 2k flat armor. And Evasion has seen similar numbers, so to give you a 75% chance to evade attacks on a tier 16 map, you currently need about 49,000 evasion rating. After the change, you'll only require 24,200. And like with buffing the armor skill, they've also buffed the grace skill to give you 20% more evasion rating. Now what about dodge? Dodge has been completely removed from the game. Well, attack variant anyway. Now spell dodge was the main way of dealing with spells if you were evasion, because evasion doesn't work with spells. To counter this, they brought in a new thing called spell suppression, which gives you a percentage chance to take half the damage from the spell hits coming in. This is still nowhere near as good as spell dodge at 75%, because spell dodge at 75% would on average mean that you only get hit by a spell once every 4 turns. So if you get hit with 4 spells, each with 1,000 damage, you'd expect to dodge the first 3 and then get hit by the last one, taking a total of 1,000 damage. In this one, it will be halved and you'll take 2,000 damage, so it's only half as effective as dodge was. The big bonus is, at 100% it's not random. You can still get spell dodge by converting the spell suppression we talked about a little earlier. Okay, next. Blind were too strong for too little investment, and Fortify was only really meant as a melee defense. So what have they done with this? Blind will be changed to work now hand in hand with evasion, so if you've got no evasion, blind will be completely ineffective. It will also now have a damage component, so it will effectively lower their chance to evade you as well. Now because blind is now completely useless for armor characters, Flesh and Stone has been returned to 25% reservation from 50. So pretty much back to where we were 2 leagues ago. Temper Shield has been converted to a reservation skill and now reserves 20%. They've substantially buffed the damage of the lightning that shoots from it, and it now grants you immunity to shock. Another problem they saw was armor users didn't really have a way of mitigating a lot of elemental damage, and to counter this they've added more maximum increase to resistances in the armor part of the tree, so the Marauder area. Keystones, they've added a couple to help you synergize between different base types. So if you want to use armor and energy shield, there's now a keystone for it. If you want to use evasion energy shield, they've moved Ghost Dance from the trickster as a keystone on the main tree at a nerfed value. So that's all good stuff. Not good if you're a trickster, granted, but you'll get something different. They just haven't said what that new ascendancy thing will be. In other news, Gladiator's Versatile Combatant is being removed from the Gladiator Ascendancy and being put as a keystone. It will be nerfed, so instead of being able to get 75% attack damage and spell block as you could before, it will now cap at 50% of both. The actual spell block will be based on the overflow of that 50% cap, at 2 times the value of the amount of attacks block you've got. So at your original 75% block chance, you'll get 50 and 50. Now because Versatile Combatant is moving off Gladiator, they're toying with the idea of giving us a node that gives us attack damage is lucky, which will take attack damage back up to that 75%. So it's still going to be well worth using a Gladiator. I've got mixed feelings about this change. Gladiator was one of my favourite ascendancies in the last 2 leagues. This last one, purely because it was so defensive compared to everything else. I think block is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best mechanics in the game for defence. So I hate to see it go, but on the other hand, I've also been thinking that it would be great for other characters to have something like it. To help you get more spell dodge, they've also increased the number of passive points on the tree between the Witch and the Templar. Okay, on to life regen now. It seems they're going to favour flat regen again. They tried this once before by buffing it all, it was nowhere near enough and no one uses it. It looks like they're going to do a second buff pass, and they're also going to remove or reduce the percentage increases across the tree. They're also removing it from all items that aren't unique, including the influenced ones. However, they are adding a load of new options to the shadow part of the tree. So they're going to give it life on hit, regen, all that good stuff which has been missing for quite a long time now. As well as reducing or removing the life regen on the tree, they're also going to do it on the per endurance charge stuff you used to be able to get. So on that point 2, they may reduce it or remove it. I'm not sure I like that. It was a great way to get life regen from endurance charges, and it's not cheap to get all those endurance charge nodes. Energy Shield has been buffed. Instead of regenning at 20% of the rate, it now regens at 33% of the rate. Wicked Ward has now been buffed. It now gives you much lower drop in recharge rate, and so we'll be back around the original value of around 20%. It's slightly under, but not by much. So Wicked Ward will be like old Energy Shield, but with its bonuses that it gives you. They've also increasing the amount of Energy Shield on the tree and giving more from bases, up to 20% more from bases. Energy from Naught is being nerfed because it was too strong. I think it gave you something like 100 ES per node, so they're reducing that slightly. And they're also balancing some of the cluster jewels to move some of the more excessive stuff to the smaller type instead of the medium type where you can get a lot more of it. Now the other thing they're doing, which I don't particularly agree with, is they're putting another RNG layer on gear, which will give it better buffs. Don't like that. I think gear has enough RNG without another layer on top. Shields and other items are getting a big buff to defensive values. They've been deemed too low. Now I'm hoping that they balance Shield Crush and Spectral Shield Throw around it, or this next league is going to be absolutely full of Shield Crushing or Shield Spectral Throw, because it will be ridiculously powerful if they bump up the armor and evasion on shields and don't counter that. It's now going to be possible on shields as well to get a buff of up to 15% to spell block and 16% to attack block, which I think before was like 5 or 4%, so it's a big increase. As well as a load of other modifiers that are going to help you quite a bit when you're using shields. In summary, I like the fact that they're buffing defenses. I think it needed it. Not 100% happy with the extra RNG on gear. Also not particularly happy about removing dodge. I think it was a nice mechanic and it mitigated a lot. It was also a damn sight easier to get than evasion. But they could have added complexity with all these synergies that they've added through keystones. I think we've covered all the core changes in the manifesto. Let me know what you think. Good thing? Bad thing? What do you like? What do you dislike? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've liked this video, then please tickle that like button. It'll like it a lot. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.